Is that better? Yes, there we go. Welcome everybody to our group call for the 8th of June. Hope you've all had a fantastic weekend. I know we've had quite an exciting trading week behind us, and we're quite a jam-packed call for today. So let's jump straight into that. And I prepared a whole lot of slides, so I was going to make sure I do them all correctly. So let's get that underway. Okay, so last week's performance for our game plan, in our chat, we did just under $1,000 on our game plan, trading just the MNQ from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. So that was pretty awesome on that. And we also had some very amazing results from our members. So that has all been posted in our chat too. And a special shout out to Christopher, who is he put together a couple of YouTube videos of him trading the DTB system. So that's very awesome. Well done for that. And I've also got some performance that I placed in the group chat last week. I'm just trading up on a few different accounts. So these are the results of those accounts, trading them. And we're going to be specifically focusing on the on the signal chart combo 5, show me the money, which is the chart that I used to make these trades during the week. So that's really going to help you members, understand that signal chart better and, make the best use of it. So this is the signal chart we're going to be looking at, which is the same chart that we basically start all our calls on. And it's just now, giving you guys a much better understanding of how to set up that chart, how to trade it effectively. We're also going to be looking at the game plan for the week ahead. So this week, we're going to be trading 3 MNQ charts and 1 NQ chart. So a lot of work has been done on the back end, using the, the auto optimize feature. There's a lot of back end little updates that I've done there. And just going a bit into that there. So when you guys are running the auto optimize feature, and for those who might not be aware, this feature that we have in the strategy is basically set up so that strategies can be automatically updated without you having to actually change anything. So, that'll be trading hours, stops and targets, entries, everything is basically controlled by a back-end feature after you just enable the strategy. So you're going to notice that on the top of the chart, there's only going to be a start and a pause, as well as a pause all and resume all. So there's a small setting in the strategy that you can link a whole lot of strategies. So say, for example, you are trading 4 different charts and you have them all linked in the settings, and you want to stop trading on all of those charts simultaneously, you can actually just press pause all and it will stop trading on all of those charts. Another setting that you guys have access to is to be able to completely remove the buttons and sliders from the charts when the strategy is trading, which also enables the strategy to be able to be run chartless. So you don't actually have to have a physical chart to run the strategy live. And then, with all the buttons and all the sliders activated, the same thing applies there. You're able to, now you're also able to choose, long only, short only, pause all, resume all. So when you have a whole lot of strategies running and you link them, you can set a specific direction for all of them to take. So for some of you, you might be running multiple charts of the same, you might be running multiple MNQ charts or NQ charts or ES charts. And now with a single button click, you can choose all of those strategies to only take long positions or only take short positions. So that's what those buttons are for on the chart. And obviously you have the ability to, activate strategies without that feature to link them. And then you can have individual strategies trade short or long, depending on what you actually want to do. So that is what the different features of the baseline Wick Trader strategy are. So pretty powerful strategy. And there's been some really awesome templates created from it. So, well done to all the guys putting a lot of effort into understanding the strategy and trading it effectively. Okay. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to really focus this call on our signal chart, show me the money. So if you guys were watching at the beginning of this call, you will notice that we had the screen sharing on the go. And if I just click play that one up, you'll see that is that signal chart. So if you notice when we started this call a few minutes ago, I think we started exactly at this arrow over here. Price failed to break below this breakout marker. The momentum line was up. So it's, the momentum line is like a magnet for price. And it's basically just pulled this price up. So that's been an amazing, almost 100 tick move from that point, showing us that there's a very, very high likelihood of this price going up. And currently we're at a brick wall, which is the SI indicator. So also with the SI indicator, I've made a small little adjustment. So instead of having a hash line for the brick walls, I've made it into like these little circles. So like these little dots, they are going to now show the brick walls for the SI indicator. And I did that just so that there's no confusion between the breakout volume markers, which are the dash or the hash lines over here, and the SI indicator. So a really powerful, just a visual thing that you can, see the chart more effectively. Okay. So for your benefit, if you go into your workspaces, and I'll just get that up on my screen. Okay. All right. So if you go into your workspaces, so in the control center, you go to workspaces and you click on the workspace. So obviously once you've run the script, you've updated the DTB assembly, you've updated all the templates, which is what this does. You can click on your workspaces, which are automatically put in there, and you can click on the Show Me the Money Scalping Masterclass. So once you do that, just give it a minute or so to load. And then what will happen is it'll bring up this chart over here. So this chart has got a few tabs. It's got 4 tabs on it. And what I've basically done is I've put together a few different variations of the signal chart, which is really going to make a huge, huge difference to you guys. And also, while I have that, I've got a new document that I've created for this, or that I've edited for this signal chart. So once you run your script, if you go to your documents, NinjaTrader 8, and you go to DTB Traders and start here in that folder, you're going to find this document over here. Now, this document has been like thoroughly, prepared. It took me hours and hours and hours to set it up. And I did this for you guys' benefit because I really wanted to make sure that there is a documented way of, letting you follow along and explain to you exactly what the signal chart is and how you can trade it. So if possible, and I highly recommend this, I would print this out. I would even bind it. I would send it to a printer. I would have it bound. I would make it even into a book. And, this document here, it's the equivalent of like a 7-year degree at university, because once you understand this document and in turn understand the signal charts, you're going to be able to, become so consistent with your trading that, you're going to write your own destiny basically from here. So, go through this document and make notes on it, print it out, like I said, make sure you have it very accessible and you've read it absolutely thoroughly. Because, if you really want to take trading seriously, and especially using this absolutely phenomenal system that we have, you really want to understand the signal charts that we have. So you'll see over here, I've got, I've put in a lot of detail too. about the different bar sizes that you can use on this chart. I've even linked it to this call. So this very call that we're on now is also obviously going to cover the signal chart as well as this document. And you'll see that I've got the different bar sizes. Also, what bar sizes to use for different times of the day, which are extremely useful. And I've put in, what indicators are made up of this chart. So it's got these indicators that are included on the signal chart. And then I've gone into a bit of detail on what each indicator actually does. So this is probably the most thorough I've ever gone into, really divulging or giving out information about, what each of these tools do, so that, you're able to understand them a lot better and, make informed trading decisions using them. So I go into all the indicators there. As you can see, the breakout volume, manipulation detector, trend following, the SI indicator. And then I also gave, a reason for why we combine these tools. Each individual tool is very powerful on its own, but when they combine in a system, which is what we have over here, it makes them extremely powerful, because there's a lot of information that the chart is painting for you to be able to make informed decisions. And I give some examples over here of what you're thinking around the chart should be about: establishing direction, identifying the zones, watching for the breakout volume. So all of that is extremely well documented. I've also given some trade scenarios of how to actually enter positions. So go into that for sure. I've put in obviously some screenshots over here of what the signal chart looks like. So that's all in there. And obviously, guys, as we're going through this call, if there's any questions, just please pop them in the group calls chat in Discord for members. And I can, answer them as we go along. So that's in there. And I've also, again, given more information about, what the idea is behind this template. And, I do reiterate a few different things, like making sure that you don't drag the price scale, make sure there's no F on the top right of the chart, do not center price on scale. So all of this is, it's very, very clear. And, once you thoroughly investigate or read through this document and make notes on it, you'll be able to really get a great understanding of it. And obviously on this call, we're going to go through about how to trade it also very effectively. So, I hope you guys appreciate the time and effort that's been put into this, because, I know this chart backwards. And that's because obviously I designed it and created it over, years and years of things. But there's a lot of new members who might, be a bit overwhelmed looking at a chart like this. Especially if they come from trading like minute bars. And this is a whole different revolutionary concept that, takes it to a whole new level. So again, to find this document, all you need to do is go into after you've run the script, obviously. So go into your documents, NinjaTrader 8, DTB Traders. Like there's a folder inside your NinjaTrader 8 folder called DTB Traders. And inside that folder is a start here. And in the start here folder, you're going to find this document. So that's in there. So going on, I explained again about the momentum line, what that does. So there's a lot of visual clarity on this document that, is really going to accompany, this call to, help you understand how to trade it. And, for many, this signal chart has been a ticket to creating your own destiny. And if you look through our group results chat, you will see that, there's a lot of screenshots there of actual trades being taken using this chart and results, from actually trading it. So keep reviewing that. I'm just going to go down a bit. So you'll see there's a lot of information here about, the arrows, the bars. We'll just continue a little bit down on this. So this, obviously you guys have loaded your workspace, so we'll look at that in a moment. And it's just, you know, it is so informative to give you a really, really, really good system to be able to trade the market. So please read through this. You know, I even go into information about actual trades that I took. You know, that's in there. Reversals, what the coloring of the bars means. So there's so much incredible information over here. So I really hope you guys put a lot of effort into actually reading this. So I'll just go through a little bit more, and I've also gone into some examples of trades. So, you know, once when I took a trade live, I took a screenshot and I said, okay, this is what we're looking at. You know, so example of this trade was, you know, prices near the fib level. We've got tomato maroon bars. We've got a double arrow with connected dotted line, which is our divergence. We've got our breakout volume markers left behind above the price. We've got multiple failed attempts to break through a key Fibonacci level. We've got our momentum line sharply facing down, and obviously cyan color. And you know, we've got our target placed near the last breakout volume marker that initiated the price continuation up, which is this orange one over here. So just showing you that, you know, this is more than likely a level that's going to be retested and, you know, even a price reversal from there. So looking at that, zooming in on the trade, showing you, you know, what it looks like, you know, really zoomed in, as well as, you know, taking another position and the reason for taking another position, which is based on, you know, a breakout volume marker left behind, which is this blue one over here, momentum line beautifully facing down, and then ultimately, you know, going down, the bar coloring change. I mean, how powerful is the bar coloring? I mean, you know, you guys have to, you know, be absolutely amazed by, you know, the coloring of the bars. You know, we know as we start seeing gold bars, you know, the sellers are in control. But as soon as we start seeing green bars, we know the buyers are back in control. So that is what this continually shows up on this chart. And then just showing how, you know, how this one went and hit its target. Look how incredible, like a magnet for the price, is this momentum line. It's absolutely fantastic. That one ultimately hit its target. I've gone in and put out the layout. So, you know, I've repeated a few things in this document, and it's really important to do that because some people can just skim over something. And I wanted to make sure that people really got an accurate understanding of what they are actually seeing on the chart. So that is all of that. I'll just go a bit more into this. Then I've also gone into a few different variants of the signal chart, which we're also going to be looking at on this call, just showing different bar sizes that can be used with the signal chart. So there's a few examples over there. And there's some additional trade examples of people using the signal chart to enter positions. They're highlighting, I think this was, one of our members who, you know, posted, you know, look there, this is the breakout markers left behind. I'm entering short, highlighting it nicely over there, you know, hitting target, kicking ass with this. I mean, that's just what we do with this chart. Again, some more trade examples going forward. So I've also put these trade examples in place there so you can visually see what the chart looks like, you know, when these positions are being taken. And then at the bottom, I've got some resources to share, which we're going to cover in a moment. Okay, so let's look at this chart. Look how beautiful. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a coughing fit today. Let me deactivate this camera so we can focus on the trading chart itself. So have a look over here at our chart. So this is our workspace that we created. And now, as you can see at the moment, we actually have the price that has come and touched the SI indicator, which is our brick wall indicator. We've even got a tomato colored bar over here. And we also have our breakout volume marker left behind. We still have the momentum line facing up significantly. So there's still a high likelihood that this price could actually go up. But, we do have quite a few key elements on this chart to give us a high likelihood of, what's going to happen next. So I'm just going to enter a sell position over there. And just because we got a breakout volume marker left behind, we've touched the brick wall. And, with this type of thing, with this type of entry, what we're looking at doing is we're looking at placing our stop just the other side of where this price would need to go for that brick wall to come into effect. So looking at this, you will see it is just the other side of the brick wall. We've got our breakout volume marker left behind. We've got an arrow there. We've got tomato colored bar. So all in all, we've got quite a few things in our favor over here to show us, a really good entry. And, you can get in, if we were watching this a little bit earlier, you could get in a lot sooner on this chart. And it could also be at that brick wall. So, when you're entering trades at a brick wall, it's also a really, really powerful place to enter because we have that phenomenal resistance that price often has touching those brick walls. And if we scroll backwards, we can see there's an example of a previous brick wall over there, how the price, bounced around a little bit, ultimately broke through, retested it, and then fell down. And we're kind of at a similar situation over here. So we've got our, our brick wall, we've got our breakout volume marker left behind, we've got all of these markers left behind below the price. So, there were quite a few opportunities on this chart to enter positions all the way from down over here, all the way from where we saw the bars green, momentum line facing up. There were really, really, really incredible opportunities to enter trades at various points on this chart. So, it's not just limited to, the last breakout volume marker. We can also use previous breakout volume markers to actually enter price. And all that we're doing over here is we are targeting, we basically hit our target there. So, we're targeting guaranteed price levels. Now, I throw around the term guaranteed price levels quite a bit. And basically what that means is that, we have these bars forming on the chart. And as you can see over here, we've got, this is the start of the bar, that's the end of the bar. If the price goes up a certain value, in this case 30 ticks, it's going to form a new bar. So we know that that is the next level of the price. So, unlike anybody looking at like minute bar charts or volume charts or anything else, you don't really have any guaranteed levels for price. Whereas, a chart like this is going to give you those guaranteed levels. Now, that was just a small little example of a trade. And as you can see, it worked out pretty well because we actually had a lot of very favorable things happen on the chart. We had a breakout marker left behind, which is now being repositioned. So that's another thing you're going to notice is that the breakout volume markers, they're monitoring different bar formations or bar sizes to determine, where that institutional volume has been placed into the market. So, when you're looking at this chart, now I see a few people make the mistake of squeezing the chart. Okay, so you definitely do not want to be squeezing the chart. Okay, because you can't see what's going on. You got the momentum line, which is you can see it's completely out of whack when you're squeezing the chart. So you want to make sure that the chart is positioned in a way that the bars are clearly spaced like this. You haven't got a huge, compounding or squeezing of the bars on the chart. And you also do not want to be doing this with the chart. You see, as you can see, the momentum line, this momentum line over here, it's a free flowing, oh my goodness. It's a free flowing line. So, you can't be doing this to the chart, because that's going to distort how this actually looks. So always make sure that if you see an F on the top right, that you actually click that, because you don't want to be, distorting the indicators, because this indicator is so powerful when the chart is positioned correctly. And as we discussed, this is a 30-30 bar. You see there's a breakout marker left behind over there, but we still have to wait for confirmation of what that's going to do next. So you're going to notice that these markers are going to be left behind in different places. It's always a very good idea to monitor the angle of our momentum line. So if our momentum line is facing down like this, we don't want to be entering long positions in that sense, because there's a high likelihood that the price is going to continue falling down. Although we're at a level over here where we are retesting a previous breakout volume marker that's been left behind. So there's also a few things over here that could be of help to us. So one of them is definitely this volume marker over here. There's a volume marker left behind too, the orange and the white. So there's definitely going to be reaction around this point. But before we enter any more positions, let's look at a few other options or alternates to this. And there we can even see a gold bar starting to form, which is telling us that the sellers are in control of the price now. You see, so look at the different colors of the bars. You can see when there's a strong seller power or control over the bars are gold. But as soon as the buyers take over, you can see the bars start turning green, a little bit of gold, and then they go green, and then they're up. And that is such a vital thing to look at on the chart. So you can take trades against that, against the coloring of the bars, if you are at specific levels where, as you saw, a breakout volume marker was left behind, or we had a very, very strong brick wall, which our SI indicator told us. I mean, look how absolutely incredibly powerful this brick wall was. See, this painted all the way from here, and almost to the tick, it reversed at that price. So, the level of ingenuity and whatever behind this, what's the word I'm looking for? The level of expertise behind creating these tools is beyond anything that exists in the world of trading. I mean, most companies will focus on indicators that work on outdated and irrelevant minute bars, whereas we're working on tick bars with guaranteed price levels, which is absolutely fantastic. So let's have a look at this chart. So here's a 60-20. Again, we got guaranteed price levels. So we know for a fact that if the price drops 60 ticks, it's going to form a new bar. If the price goes sideways, it's going to form these baselines for price. And each of these baseline bars is 20 ticks. So even if you enter a limit order on the beginning of a bar and you just target the baseline, you got a 20 tick target. These arrows are also very helpful because they also determine what price is doing. So as an example, if I enter a sell over here, you'll see over here, all I'm going to do over here is I'm going to target the baseline. You see, there's the baseline. Now, if I should have put a limit order there. I mean, if you put a limit order on the beginning of the baseline like that, obviously you got a full 20 tick target. So there's a few things that are like we got a momentum line facing a little bit up here, but we're doing a little scalping trade over here. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel over here. We're not using a huge amount of risk. We can also bring our stop right down, also for this trade. But all we're basically doing over here is targeting the baseline on this chart. Now, obviously, we do have our momentum line facing a little bit up, but it did have a recent drop in this. So that's one thing we can be looking at. Next chart we can look at is this one over here. So same thing applies over here. We've got a 60-60 chart. Okay, now looking at this, we've got a momentum line facing up. Again, there's an opportunity to enter a position at the beginning of the baseline. So, maybe I jumped into that trade a little bit prematurely. So again, with this one over here, you can target very, very specific baselines for the price. So we know for a fact that this bar is either going to go up and return to this baseline, or it's going to, come down to this baseline. Well, obviously, we had our price reverse over here from this signal over here, where we had our arrows, we got breakout volume markers left behind. So there's a lot telling us here that this, is going up. Same thing over here. We've got our baseline over here. On this one over here, it's a larger chart. So we're looking at a 120 tick chart with a 40 tick baseline. So as you can see over here, we had our last breakout volume marker left behind over there. And this one over here, we've got our baseline over there. So if you look at this chart over here, you will see that this baseline, the width of this baseline is 40 ticks. You see? So looking at that, there's also an opportunity over here to enter positions because we're looking at a larger time frame. We can enter positions based on the price and enter limit orders at very specific points of the baseline, because we know for a fact that the price is either going to go up and form a new baseline, or it's going to return to the baseline. There's nothing else the price can do. It's a very, very simple concept because we know exactly what price is going to do. I mean, there's no confusion over here what price is likely going to do. It's either going to return to a baseline or form a new baseline. There, I just missed out on the target over there. But as you can see, our momentum line is now starting to level out a little bit. So we've got a bit higher probability on this trade. And remember, at any time, if you want to exit a position, you could just click on the close button. So that can also be done. But, as you guys can see, using different types of charts, you can monitor smaller values in baselines. You can monitor smaller values in bar sizes, but then you can also target much larger values in baselines. So over here, like as an example, if you put a limit order at this value while the momentum line is facing down and you target the bottom of the bar, you have got a 40 tick target for your trade. So, these type of opportunities are going to constantly present themselves, when you're looking at a chart like this. So it's always advisable, when you're looking at a larger bar chart, to pay close attention to what the momentum line is telling you, because that is very often or most likely going to be your ultimate guide as to what this price is likely to do next. So going back to our 30 chart, we see we've got some breakout markers left behind. So this is really a point of of contention here, because we're trading right over here. We're trading in the cloud, okay, which is basically our band over here for our trend following. And we are looking at, breakout markers. This is an area where the price could really be tested. Okay, so I'm going to answer a few questions about this. I see in the chat here, are the settings on the individual indicators different based on the DTB bar size? Yes. So that's a very, very good question. So again, this has also been very, very highly covered in this document over here. So I'm just going to just scroll to a point in this document over here to give us the section that covers that very specifically. So just give me a second. Let me just find that. Just in this document. I want to show it to you first, and then I'm actually going to go through it in on the chart as well, because extremely important to understand what all of those do. Okay, where is it? Where is it? Let me just see if I can do a search on this document. It's quite a big document, so let me just go. Okay, 1 second, guys. I just want to get this found. Okay, so we're looking specifically at our breakout volume, and I just want to do a search over here if I can find this. Okay. I did speak about it while I was talking about the breakout volume. We'll get to that in a moment. I know for a fact it's in here, and I might have jumped right over it. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So this specifically covers indicators that need to be adjusted when changing data series. So this is on page 35 of 44. It says there that the DTB breakout volume, so take the highest bar size, in this case 60. You can see I'm looking at this chart behind is a 60-20. So we take the highest bar size and we times that by 10 and adjust the time frame reset, which is the signal distance away in ticks, and use that number. And we do that on all of the breakout volume indicators. And that's because, the range that we are using is really dependent on the bar size that we are using. So what this is doing is it's when you have a lower value for your reset, it's forcing the indicator to look for more signals. Whereas if you've got it appropriate to the bar size, then you actually have an indicator that is only going to reset, after a distance of a certain value has passed, which is more suited to the bar size that you're working on. And it's the same with the trend following. We want to make the value for the trend following at least the value of the highest bar. So if we've got a 60-20 bar, we want to make sure that we've got at least a 60 value in there. The SI indicator, this one's a little bit more complex. So I've kind of left it all as like a 2-2 because that is, very useful to use. But you can, look at this video over here, which we covered on a previous call. I'm not sure if it was the last video or the last week or the week before, but we actually covered how to optimize the SI indicator. Okay, so let's have a look at this 30-30 chart. So look at this chart over here, and we go to our indicator list, and you'll see over here that because we've got a 30-30 bar, and the cool thing too about this, guys, is I've saved these all as templates. So you guys can actually load them up, but it's vitally important that you understand them, because when you set up your own charts, you're able to to create these indicators or put these indicators in their right values. So shadow trading, you don't have to touch. You could adjust the period length if you wanted to slightly. It'll just make the momentum line a little bit less, it won't have as many angles on it. Fibonacci levels you don't ever touch. With the Fibonacci levels, we do have you can just deactivate the intraday yellow, because it makes a lot of adds more lines to the chart. And also, so that's our Fibonacci levels we leave as is. Breakout volume. Okay, so breakout volume, this is where I said the time frame reset. So we're on a 30-30 bar, so we make the time frame reset 300, and we do that to all 4 of those breakout volume bars. Okay. Okay, so that's that one over there. Manipulation detector, we don't have to touch that one. Trend following, this is the one where you can adjust. So I've got a 40 in there. So I've got a 40 in there for this 30-30. You could have it at a 30 even, that's also fine. And brick wall SI is that. So if we go to like our 60-20 and we go into our indicator settings over here, you're going to notice that this one too is going to have there's a 60-20. So we've got our breakout volume. We've got that set at 600. So all of those are set at 600 and our range is set at 60. So that's the one over there. So all of these chart templates, so like if I want to add a chart, if I want to load another chart template, then we can actually just do that very quickly. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to go to NQ, and I'm going to look at the template. So if you look at that, if you look at the template drop down, this is where you got all the chart templates that we've been using. And if you look at the list here, you'll see I've got a show me the money 240-60 chart. Okay, so if you click on that, you know that your bar size has to be 240 and 60. Now with this one, we do add a few more days just because it is a larger chart, and we also take off the break at end of day. And we do this on the larger charts because this is giving us a continuous baseline that is carried over from previous sessions. So if I do that, okay, you'll see there it's loading the 240-60. Okay, so there is our larger chart. So a question in the chat, your examples showed equal bars or flat baseline charts. Are there any other considerations if using a trending baseline? Yeah, absolutely. You can use a trending baseline too. So the same principle applies. The reason why I like using a flat baseline is because you can trade both sides of the baseline. You can trade above and below the price. So you have the ability to take a lot more positions than like trading a trending baseline or, something like that. But you can certainly apply the exact same principle. So like this one's at 240-60. And what I'll do in a moment is I will adjust this to a trending baseline. So just giving it a bit more time to work. There we go. So there's our 240-60 chart. So now if we go into the indicators of this chart, you are going to notice that these indicators are made to work with that specific bar size. So there we've got our breakout volume marker and we've got our reset at 2400. And then we've got our range of our trend following set to 240. So, these are not hard-coded like absolute musts that you have to have. Like these are the exact values that you have to have. No, you can alter them slightly, but this is a really good guide because it is telling you, it is just helping you start from a really, really solid base. And, if you want to see how effective a value is, look at how historically it is plotting on the chart. So if you scroll back and you see how, price has come back and just almost tested it, come back down again, broke through, failed to break below, then you got a good value. And it's the same when the price is trending upwards, you can see, is the price holding according to what the indicator is telling us. Now, if I go to this data series and I make this let's go a 60 and a 240. we'll see what that looks like. Okay, so like there we go. So give us a moment to load up. You know, there's nothing wrong at all changing changing the bar size to a different value. So with this too, I mean, it's you've got this exact same type of situation where you've got guaranteed price levels. So you know for an absolute fact that the price is either going to return to the baseline or it's going to go up and form a new baseline. So you can see, you know, down, 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 new baseline up, baseline down, baseline up, baseline down, and you've obviously got your bar colorings. So when you're looking at charts like this, you know, and even if you're entering a position higher up and you see baseline breaks, you might want to be looking at a few different aspects to see, you know, what is holding the price, what is actually working. So as an example over here, like we are right against the 61.8 Fibonacci level. This is only on the 5 minute, which is, you know, a much smaller time frame because it's only taking into consideration, like, you know, the last low and the last high, and it's basically giving us a percentage of a retracement based on that. But even with this, you still have, you know, a really good, you know, visual understanding of what's happening on the chart. And of course, you can adjust some of the, you know, the indicators to, you know, make it more visually appealing, but make sure that what you are looking at is showing, you know, the support areas, the resistance areas. Look at where your brick walls are. I mean, this is another beautiful example of, you know, being able to trade this price back down, even just to the baseline over here. So there's a few different larger charts that we can look at. Here we have a few breakout volume markers over here, and this could see a temporary rise just up to the next baseline. So there's look at, I mean, we're missing a few here, but it's fine because we are, you know, we're going through real good understanding of this chart. So same thing over here. The price could, breakout markers could be left behind. Price could go up. Price can come and retest breakout markers. You can enter limit orders at the beginning of the bar and trade the price back up to the close of the bar. So there's quite a few different charts that you can look at here. So there's definitely enough ample opportunities to be looking at, you know, what price is doing and where it's likely to go next. So even starting with like a 30-30, look how beautifully this came down, retested these breakout markers over here and bounced up. Even for small scalping positions, just targeting one bar, you can actually do that with a very, very, very high probability of success because you only have, you know, a small stop and then you can chase a larger target. So like this one over here, we can do a long over here and we can say, you know what, all that we want to do is we want to target the top of that bar. And we want to make sure that we don't have too much of a stop here. Now, ideally with this, you would put the stop this side of this bar because this is going to be, you know, where the price would come if the baseline is broken. But we're only chasing a small little level over here, which is basically a guaranteed price level, you know, that the price is either going to go touch there or it's going to touch here. There's nothing else that this bar can do. So, you know, the amazing benefit of something like this is that we are not having to study and understand chart patterns and candlestick analysis. You know, there's probably 50 different chart patterns. There's probably 100 different candlestick analysis things to look at. And none of that is basically in play over here. So yeah, we had a little bit of a precarious situation because we have, you know, our momentum line down, our bar starting to go a bit gold. So, you know, a little bit out of thing over here, but we still have a few of our charts giving us a high likelihood of price reversals, even if it's a slight reversal. But, you know, we have a few things that could be against us in certain ways. So it's about looking at different values of charts. So here we have, this one over here. The benefit of looking at a few different charts is you can put your stops and your targets at different levels, especially when you're looking at a few different charts over here. So, this obviously wasn't the very best move that we just did over here, because we have a lot of our charts giving us a strong momentum line push to the downside, but we still have, some decent signals over here that, this is a price where, this is a value where price is actually bound to, react off, even where it's come to retest and could bounce up. And, only targeting small values. And, the moment you look at a trade and you think, this is definitely not looking crash hot, you can definitely exit it, and then wait for the next signal to come up. So, and again, if you don't want to see if you don't want to look at the markers on the chart, you can just go do not plot, or you can even just go to, markers only, and that'll just hide away, the actual text on the chart, because you don't really want to be looking at a lot of text on your chart. So, comparing a few different charts is also key to this, because you're able to see, what price is doing. You're able to see where these next baselines are. You're able to see where these breakout volume markers are. And you're going to notice that extremely often these markers are going to be, areas where price is going to, bounce off. And sometimes you obviously go right through. So as a continuation marker. So looking at this, we've got a few things over here. This price over here, you can see it looks like it wants to come back to the baseline. So there's a lot of things over here telling us this is probably not the very best trade to be in this situation. Especially since we have, a lot of our tools telling us, hey, this is a good chance this price is going to reverse. So, looking at that, but, there's still a few things over here that's giving us some confidence, because we have, breakout volume markers that are still in the way of price. So let's monitor this one for a little bit and just see what this one does. See, our stop over here is placed over there. It could also be placed at the bottom of the next bar, which is where the price would need to go for this signal to basically end up at a loss, because that'll obviously go and touch this level over here. So, obviously the banks and institutions are playing tricks on us all the time, and they might show that a price is going in a certain direction, but then ultimately actually doing the opposite. So always bear that in mind when you're looking at your charts. It's a really cool idea to be able to switch between these different signal charts to see, what is happening on them. Yeah, so this was not looking the absolute best. I mean, ideally, if you were a little bit paranoid about having a drawdown, you would probably exit this trade a little bit sooner. I tend to like to see the trades play out, even if I do make a not the greatest decision. I still like to see trades play out, because I want to be able to see what the price is doing around levels where I was confident that the price would hold at. And it's also a good learning curve, because you get to see the results of your actions, right? So looking at this, I mean, we still obviously have these breakout volume markets which are holding price up. We do have a huge momentum line shift here. So very often the price could make higher highs on previous on existing candles, and then still come down, just like it does, a lot of the time, like over here, where the price could come back down again and then eventually go up. So, the whole time we are looking at different, we're looking at different ways of how to trade this basically. So let's continue looking at this. So again, we've got a gold color bar over here on the 60-20. We do have, like I said, these breakout volume markers, which are helping us at this stage. But we're not very, very far away from our stop or our target. So it's, you know, it's not a crazy out of whack trade that we are taking over here. So any questions in here? I'm just checking if there's any more questions in our chat over here. Yeah, so I mean, I'm not in love with this specific trade. Okay, sorry, my mic dropped out. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, sorry, my mic is giving me issues again. That is extremely odd. Okay, so there we go. You know, it's not advisable to go and move your stops. You know, once you commit to a position, either jump out of it, but you know, decide what you are looking at as your stop initially when you're entering a position. Understand that where you are going to put your stop is definitely at a level that makes sense. You don't want to be, you know, just putting stops randomly on charts. So that's, you know, a good thing to do. This one's a little bit of a bummer. We will still watch it for a bit longer. Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah, so I mean, we got a little bit of a dilemma here because we got these breakout markers that are, it's like we're on the precipice here of either breaking through or reversing up. Yeah, we have, you know, it's a few things that are not kosher. So, you know, you can always say, you know, I'm not happy with a position like this, so I'm going to jump out. And don't be, you know, don't be concerned if if it does go and turn around and hit the target anyway. You know, make sure that you're always trading within your specific risk tolerance. Okay, so what are we going to do here? Okay, so we're at this level over here. Our larger charts are definitely giving us, you know, a little bit of a headache over here. Price reversing, you can see how beautifully it's reversing over there. But this one still looks pretty decent in the sense that, you know, we are having exact reversals at breakout volume markers, but we could have a, you know, a breakdown. So always monitor, you know, where these breakout volume markers are. And if you are making trading decisions, you know, make them around those values because they're obviously going to give you the highest probability. of success. Okay, so there we are down. I mean, this one's very, very close to its stop. Not absolutely the greatest entry that we took over here, which is fine. I'm still going to just monitor this, because very often too, price could just bounce around levels like this. We are currently below these volume markers, so not much for this to actually drop. Which it looks like it wants to do anyway. Okay, now it's also not advisable to say, I'm going to take a reverse trade over here, because, then that's when the price reverses against you again, and then you're actually in trouble, right? Okay, so I mean, we'll use this as our guide, and then you can very easily see, so there's the bar. That's where we entered. We had our stop over here. We chased a small target. So, it's basically a slightly higher risk reward setup that we have over here. And yeah, ultimately, we're still targeting a much higher percentage of trades accuracy, because we know immediately that the price is either going to return to the baseline or form a new baseline. So is there anything else I wanted to cover about this specifically? I just want to check. So what other values can we work with? So there's a lot of different values that you can work with, but I think you guys have got a very good guide now, as when you are changing to different bar sizes, you know how to adapt the indicators so that they're actually matching the bar size that you're working with. So you'll notice too that markers are left on the bars that they generated on. So there we had a white breakout marker left behind over there. So that could also be, a continuation that price is going to come down. But like I said, these markers are often extremely, extremely powerful points of price action. Again, we just got, this momentum line over here, you see how it's facing right down, constant right down. And we actually had that as we entered the position. So, we can't be, I can be a little bit hard on myself for, taking some positions. But, that's all in the nature of trading. Okay, we don't want to sit here for another half an hour watching the price tick along by a few ticks. So, I think we've covered a decent amount of what we needed to do about this chart and how to trade it. We can look at while that's running in the background, okay, we can also look at our game plan for the week ahead. So if you load up your game plan chat, so just obviously make sure you're on the right assembly, which is the 8th of June, and load up your game plan. You'll see that we've got a 30-30 chart, we've got a 20-30, and we've got an NQ 2020 and a MNQ 2020. So those are the charts that we have available to us on our game plan. So make sure you load them up. The templates are using the baseline wick trader strategy. So all of these are going to be auto optimized. And I saw something earlier, somebody said that the game plan template is not using the right setting. Yeah, so if you've got your NinjaTrader open and you load up a template and you don't see it when you refresh the chart, that it is showing these values. So make sure that your first chart, which is the 30-30, if you zoom in on it, you will see that the settings are 262. So those are the values for the settings for the auto optimize. But don't worry if the values don't match, because the settings are going to be automatically pushed through anyway to the trading chart. So, you know, just let it run for a while, and later in 15 minutes after activating the strategy, you're going to notice that those settings will automatically update even if your template is on old settings, because you know the template's going to automatically update based on what the server settings are. So those are definitely in play over there, so don't worry about that. And again, obviously you can look at your the rest of the charts are there, so that's all there. Okay, so yeah, we are, yeah, I mean, in hindsight, this wasn't obviously the best trade, right? But, you know, I'm glad it also happened this way, because, you know, you can also make, you can also make some mistakes trading this. No one can be absolutely perfect trading this. And theoretically, yes, you could have jumped out a bit sooner, you know, considering a lot has basically gone against this position, especially with breakout markers left behind against the position. So this one is very likely to be taken out. There's our price over there. And like I said, the last thing you want to do is go and move your stops. Don't go and move your stops, because you will get caught out. You know, it's exactly what is going to make sure that you fail miserably is if you go and move your stops. We'll give us a few more minutes. There's our 30-30 chart. You can see everything is against us over here, but we're so close to this, so I'm just going to let it run. We still know that the price is either going to go up to this new candle, which we still got our stop a little bit above it, which is okay. We know very often that these bars can have large wicks on them too. So, you know, don't always write something off. You know, we can have price reversals at any point, but this one looks like it's very unlikely, and there it is at the next baseline. So we're basically out of this position. So what can we do over here? Basically, we can just let it run a little bit longer. I'm prepared to let it hit its stop, which is fine. See, again, it's going to form a baseline. It's just going to form a baseline over here until it breaks down to another baseline. So that is what this does. So I hope this has given you a good indication of the different sizes of bars that we can work with. You know, we're looking at guaranteed price levels, which are very, you know, very clear to see where price is likely to go, what it's likely to do next. And of course, we're never going to get every single trade right. You know, we're always going to get losing positions, but try take positions where a lot of things are in your favor. So, you know, looking obviously back at this, I would make a note and say, you know, this, we really should have gone for a short position over here. You know, we had a lot of things telling us that, you know, the price is in a downwards trend based on all our other charts. So we've got a lot of different tools available across a few different bar sizes that are telling us, you know, what price is likely to do. So there we are. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. I don't think there's point in just sitting here and watching this. And yeah, that's it. So hopefully that was helpful, guys. Please go and study that document. It is absolutely fantastic to really understand the charts. And I look forward to seeing your screenshots of, you know, what you can accomplish using this chart. Hey guys, thank you. And I'll post a result in the group results all when this trade hits its stop or hits its target. So in the group results all chat on Discord, I will pop that in there. And who knows, I might even exit this position when the price comes back and retouches this baseline over here, which will only be a few ticks away from my initial entry. But then it's a good idea to see what the rest of the charts is telling us. Very interesting position. Very interesting position. Okay. Thank you guys. Have a fantastic week ahead. And I look forward to really seeing what you guys can do. And please appreciate the time and effort put into preparing that document. And I promise you guys, if you understand this chart and you take informed trading decisions based on what you are seeing on the chart, you're not trying to risk and gamble too much, which is crazy to say because I did a stupid trade at the end, but that's fine. It's fine. It's fine to make mistakes also. Even the best of us can make mistakes. But always make sure that your stops and targets are in position so you don't kill yourself or blow up your account, if you make one or two negative trades. And remember, you've probably got about a 80 to 90% accuracy rate trading the signal chart. So remember, out of every 100 trades, you're going to have 15 to 20 trades that are going to be successful or unsuccessful, should I say. And remember, there's a random distribution between winners and losers. So you could very easily have 5 or 6 trades in a row that are losing, even on a strategy that's 90% accurate or a system that's 90% accurate. So always be prepared to be able to take those losses. Thank you guys. Have a fantastic week and we shall chat soon. Cheers.